It's bounced back to Clippers minus 10.5. Not a lot to lay here. So it's an interesting number. Tell me what your cap is for Clippers as they lay 10.5 versus the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, 10.5, 11.5. I was seeing in the market to get the best number you can, but I do like it up to 11.5 here for the Clippers. I just believe the Clippers are taking every single game seriously, no matter what the contest is and who it's against. If you go back and look at their body of work the last 10, 12 games, they've been handling business in every way, shape, or form. If you go back to the Cavaliers game, this was a little bit of a turning point for me for the Clippers overall. They're on the road. They've been on the road. They're going against a really physical Cavs team. They don't really have it. They're losing the entire game. But down the stretch, they really tried to go after it and still compete and try to get the win. They didn't end up coming back and pulling it off, but they are competing at a different level than I've ever seen them compete. And Kawhi is the head of the snake for them. So I have no doubt that they're going to go to Detroit, bury these guys like they've been burying even good teams here over the last 10, 12 games. And I don't expect this to be a dull spot like it maybe would be in the past. Shout out Russell Westbrook and the rest of the game for coming off the bench unit as well. I like the Clippers here to continue to stay rolling and send a message to the rest of the league that we near might be the best team in the NBA because we see what the Boston Celtics tend to do on a night-to-night basis.
It's a curious line. I'm a little surprised it's not higher. But I will say, like, I've only got it 10.4. Like I've only got 10.4. I've got it even with if you give Detroit average home court, they're actually a little bit better than the average team at home. If you give them average home court, it winds up I've still got 12, so there's value there. Cade, it looks like he's gonna play in this one, so that's maybe like an adjustment on the number. I still
that's
am kind
probably
of like
why it's hanging.
Yeah, I'm still kind of like, I don't know. Like the only reason I'm not betting this is because I'm like, why isn't this 13? Like this should be like 12.5, 13. But maybe it's just like, yeah, I will say Detroit's been hard to kind of cap lately, and they've been better at ATS because they're playing like they weren't going to play like garbage the whole time, and so they're starting to get a little bit better. So I understand why that is. By the way, I do want to mention this. So this is away game for the Clippers, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they are still on the road for Miami, Atlanta this weekend. Okay. It's the Hawks, literally the worst team in ATS history, and I get it. I will be on Atlanta on Monday. I looked at that last game before you go home when it's another conference and it's a road trip of more than 6 games, like that last one, that's this one you circle, and it's a back-to-back spot. So we won't get a good line there, but I will tell you, like, Atlanta is going to win that game, and I'll be on them on Monday for that game. Just a little bit of a heads up.
Clippers 8-4 against the spread over their last 12, but that's a great spot look ahead for that Matt just laid out. Sometimes you do have to look 4 games in advance and try to say, hey, what would I bet this at what number, depending on obviously a ton of injuries or however else it's going to go.
Also, think about this. You want the spot of all spots? Friday night in Detroit. Play this game, win, fly to Miami, get in at 1, go to South Beach, spend that night, spend all day Saturday in Miami.
Yeah.
Now they live in LA, so it's not like they're hurting. But they're on a road trip. Then they've got a early tip, 6:00 Eastern on Saturday versus the Heat. Play that game, fly to Atlanta, the other spot in the NBA. So that Atlanta game, I'm betting the Hawks, and I'm going down with the ship on Monday. That's my best bet. I'll just go ahead and tell you that's my best bet for Monday.
And I've seen it with my own 2 eyes too at the Garden. I just saw the Nuggets come to town on the last game of a road trip. They got destroyed. Just was like ready to go home. Then the exact same thing happened with Utah the other night. They came to the Garden. There was 6th game of their road trip, and they got destroyed. They were just tired. and ready to go home. So yeah, keep an eye on the last game of road trips as they close out. The different conference thing is interesting as well because seeding's not as locked in, not as familiar. So I agree with that spot. Look ahead for Atlanta and the Clippers here.